2 nights ago, John Cena, one of the greatest of all time in professional wrestling, had his last match. And oh my God, people are mad. If you're not familiar with the situation, I'm going to lay it all out in a way that non-wrestling fans can understand. And I think first, you got to understand what John Cena is. There are 2 types of relationships a wrestling fan can have with John Cena. Number 1, you were a child during the period of Super Cena, in which he was a literal real life Superman, the goodest of the good, the best example of what humanity could be. Or the second option is that you were an adult during the Super Cena period, which now is about 15 years ago, and you fucking hated him. You hated what he represented to wrestling. You hated that this big, muscle-bound, very average in-ring guy was getting the push he was and just beating everyone. John Cena was a walking, talking toy commercial, and that's definitely how I felt. I fucking hated John Cena when he started to come up. I cried tears of rage when I watched him tap out Sabu. It was like that for a long time, but I think as I grew older and John Cena matured as a performer, I developed this kind of begrudging respect for him, which eventually turned into real, genuine affection and admiration. I think it's impossible to say that John Cena doesn't love the fuck out of professional wrestling, and as someone who also loves the fuck out of professional wrestling, it was hard not to respect him. He'd put over younger guys, and he never left the business behind, unlike other people. Dwayne, he never felt ashamed of wrestling, you know, and it was always really beautiful to watch him come back a couple of times a year and put on some of the most interesting shit imaginable, like his stuff with AJ Styles or Kevin Owens or multiple with Bray Wyatt. There was one match with Bray Wyatt in particular, one of the WrestleManias, where the whole gimmick was Bray Wyatt, this evil Bayou cult leader, trying to convince John Cena to come to the dark side. He was doing everything he could to mess with John Cena's head, including throwing him a chair and being like, "Do it, Cena, kill me in the middle of the ring in front of all these children." I miss Bray Wyatt so much, but Cena wouldn't, because Cena would never ever go to the dark side, and that's going to factor into our story here, and also a huge part of why people are so mad, because 1 year ago John Cena announced that the time is now. He was going to be retiring in 1 year, and he had 32 dates left, 16 matches, and this was a very bittersweet moment for a lot of wrestling fans, because first of all, how do you retire John Cena? That is the same as asking, how do you write the last episode of The Simpsons? How do you write the last Superman comic? Like, how can you possibly end such a monumental part of pop culture? Like, even if you don't know about wrestling, you know who John Cena is because he is that big, and a huge part of that was because of what he meant to professional wrestling. Things got off to a really interesting start because WWE did something that no one ever thought they would. They actually pulled the trigger and turned John Cena to the dark side. This took place at this year's Elimination Chamber, and it was deeply shocking. Travis Scott and The Rock were both there for reasons I don't understand. And look, I'll be real. I don't know who Travis Scott is. I never knew. Up until about maybe 4 months ago, I thought he was the drummer from Blink-182. And then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it did seem a bit weird that the drummer from Blink-182 was married to one of the Kardashians. But then Michelle was like, no, Travis Scott is also married to one of them. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is confusing. And it doesn't, the point is Travis Scott was there. I don't know why. It didn't matter. Watching Cena just transform was one of the most incredible moments of wrestling. I don't care what anyone says. It's still like just this legendary occurrence. It left me so shook, and I was so excited to see where it would go from here. And to me, it really did have the juice. Like, watching John Cena come out, a heel John Cena, and address the crowd was phenomenal. And it was phenomenal because it was real. Cena would come out and he'd be like, "You people are the reason I am like this. I have been trapped in an abusive relationship with this audience for 20 years, which is true. Cena was like meant to be this like Superman back in the day, but people like me, fucking hardcore wrestling fans, never gave him a chance. We booed him and we jeered him. He would be main eventing WrestleMania and we would chant Cena sucks. We would give him hell. It was Roman Reigns all before Roman Reigns. And seeing that history brought back up and thrown back in our face, that's like the uncanny line between like reality and storytelling that I think only wrestling can really do. And it was incredible. And you know, there were missteps. There were moments that didn't work for me. I thought the reverse pipe bomb was kind of awful, and I am so sick of WWE telling me to remember the pipe bomb. I don't care. It was 12 years ago. But then one day something really strange happens, and it's that WWE decide that John Cena doesn't need to be heel anymore. And he just kind of stops. Someone in creative or something decide that the John Cena heel run isn't working. And I find this so infuriating because to me, there was a huge part of this run was that it wasn't meant to be fun. This big, cartoony superhero of a man was turning into this just smoldering, hate-filled individual from all the years of abuse he'd endured at the hands of fans. And that was the point. He would come out to complete silence. His Titantron wouldn't show like a video. It would just say John Cena. His whole gimmick is that he was going to take the world title away from wrestling. He was going to retire with the belt as the last real champion, meaning everything that came after him was going to be a sham. John Cena was trying to destroy wrestling, and it was beautiful. But I don't know what the fuck happened. It's like people just couldn't accept it. Like there was a vocal backlash against the storytelling, and it makes me so mad because I feel like one of the problems with modern day WWE is that it's always the most fucking cookie cutter shit now. There's never nuance, there's never subtlety, and I feel like their audience is now adapting to that. You know, they don't want interesting stories, they want the good guy to win and for everyone to cheer. And it's so tired, and it was so frustrating watching this happen. So then at SummerSlam, Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. Cody Rhodes wins the belt back. And it's just, it's like a decent match, but it's like a face versus face match. And it just, to me, it felt like a real slap in the face because it was basically WWE saying, hey, listen, we can do whatever we want. Narrative weight, storytelling, fuck you. It doesn't matter. We want to turn John Cena good again. And so they turned him good. And so like there was some good stuff from this era, like Cena versus AJ Styles turned into this incredible contest of like AJ Styles, TNA, this other company versus WWE John Cena. And they started doing like all the finishing moves from everyone, like each respective brand on each other, including Bray Wyatt. Seeing his sister Abigail from John Cena was just like this devastating and beautiful moment, like just this tribute to this incredible performer who was such a part of John Cena's history. But it felt directionless. You know, it just felt like, okay, we're in the final couple of months of John Cena and there's no storyline. You know, he's just floating from date to date doing the John Cena shit, and it feels like nothing. And so then they open the John Cena Invitational Tournament, a tournament to basically choose John Cena's final opponent. And I really hated this idea because what it means is now you're taking the focus away from John Cena and onto the tournament. And I know people are going to say that's the point. They want to build someone up to beat John Cena, but it didn't feel like that. You know, it just felt like, okay, you know, sure, let's pretend that LA Knight could possibly be the final opponent to John Cena. But Gunther ended up winning. And I love Gunther. I love him so much. And I particularly remember him from his days as Walter, and particularly when he was the OTT champion. That is a Dublin-based wrestling federation that I was a huge fan of back in the day. And particularly during the Gunther-Walter era. I'm going to talk about that another time, but it was incredible. So finally, we get to this match, and they have like one TV spot to build up the match, and man, The match hits, and it's a good match. I don't want to take anything away from either Gunther or John Cena. This is the best John Cena has looked in years. And just in general this year, I think his match quality has been pretty high. But we get to the end of the match, and Gunther, one of his big finishers is the sleeper hold. He's able to wrap you in this rear naked choke kind of hold and just make people pass out or submit. And this is interesting because John Cena's whole gimmick is never give up. John Cena hasn't tapped out in over 2 decades, and it's a huge part of his character, this perseverance, this ability to overcome everything. And there's this really desperate struggle towards the end of the match as Gunther keeps snagging John Cena in just this brutal submission hold, and then John Cena, the immortal Superman, powers his way out of it, only to get caught again and again and again. And finally, Gunther has John Cena in the middle of the ring. John Cena's exhausted. He can't do anything else. He's locked in that sleeper. And he gets this look of just kind of relief on his face, and he taps out. John Cena, the Superman of wrestling, actually taps out. And that's his last match of all time. And the crowd are fucking furious. They are chanting bullshit. John Cena's final match, and the fans in attendance are chanting bullshit.
The ring. I don't know if I've ever uttered those words. Cena taps out.
Which I personally cannot interpret as anything as a catastrophic failure in wrestling storytelling. This is a failure on par with Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble. Go watch my Roman Reigns video if you want full context on that. But yeah, it's, as a long-term fan of wrestling and as someone who's had like a mixed relationship with John Cena, not actual relationship, we're talking real parasocial shit here, buddy. It was really sad to see. I was heartbroken to see John Cena getting bullshit chants in his last match. And there's a part of me that's like mad at the fans in attendance because it's like, how fucking dare you boo this, or how fucking dare you chant bullshit at this man? The locker room empties out and everyone's like trying to applaud John Cena, and it's a real strange, bittersweet moment. But Triple H, the current like creative director of WWE, comes out, and the fucking boos this man gets. And that's when you kind of start to realize this isn't just about this one match. The fans are furious because John Cena's final year was absolutely fucking botched. And I think it was botched because I don't think WWE have the creative integrity to stick to what they wanted to do. They wanted to turn John Cena heel. They wanted to make him this, they wanted to show people this new side of John Cena and end his career on that. And I think there's absolutely a path where that works. To me, the whole way you do this is you focus on the fact that John Cena can't do it anymore. He's been wrestling for 23 years. His body is broken down. He's in his mid-40s. You know, he was balding up until last year and he got the hair plugs, which look great, by the way, and people shouldn't shame the dude for that. Fucking, if dudes want to get hair plugs, let them. Don't be worried about it. And so that should have been the storyline. I think John Cena, his body breaking down, not able to do this anymore, that's what motivates him to become a heel. And I would have loved to see this entire year, the entire roster trying to get the belt back from John Cena because they don't want him to retire with the belt and be the last real champion, but also bring him back to the light side. And so to me, you run that program all year. You end it with heel Cena versus face Cody, and Cody bringing Cena back to the light. Then you do that final match with Gunther. Because then when John Cena taps out, and I would keep that the same, it's him accepting that he can't do this anymore. Because no one's immortal. No one can do this forever, not even Super Cena. And that final tap out could have been this really beautiful acceptance of that. And I still do think there's an element of that in that final match. Honestly, I don't hate the ending. I think John Cena tapping out in his final moment in WWE is actually this kind of beautiful statement about how time does catch up with us all. But a lot of people didn't see it that way. A lot of people hated it. And I think the reason they hate it is because this entire year was a fucking disaster. People were so jumbled as to what to feel going into this final match that when the ending hit, they didn't understand it. And I don't blame the fans for that. I blame WWE. I think this is the most creatively bankrupt I have ever seen WWE. And I'm not happy about that. I'm not rooting for AEW or WWE. There's a ton of shit I wish was different about WWE, but I've always subscribed to the philosophy, don't support promotions, support wrestlers. And it's devastating, honestly. Like I'm upset that this is how John Cena's career ends. You know, I'm upset that this is a send-off. And I guess if there's any solace with it, it's that John Cena himself is happy. He's happy that people are talking about it. He didn't want to go heel because he thought that they wouldn't have enough time to do it. And I think he's just happy that he's still relevant and gets to go out relevant because, my God, there are so many more tragic ends for wrestlers, as we have seen time and time and time again. So yeah, you know, it's bittersweet, but I guess if I want to say anything, it's that I wish John Cena the best. You know, like I went through my era of absolutely fucking hating him, and I now just feel grateful that he did what he did and he gave us all so many memories. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much, John Cena. You will be missed.